What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of MSNBC. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. Today, I want to talk to you all about something that hit the fan about 2 days ago. Hasn't gotten much coverage. RT covered it, TYT covered it, and we covered it here at the MCSC network. But it was Pasta and Fiorella who covered it on the Convo Couch, and I am here to cover it this morning because they covered it last night. Remember a while ago, whenever I was, when we were deep into the Venezuela conversation, and I was discussing how unrealistic it was to believe that some 35, 36-year-old American educated, conservative, he would be what they would call their Republican Party, would come out of nowhere. And understanding what I understand about males, 1, politicians, 2, elitists, 3, and egos, 4, I felt like it was really unrealistic to believe that the opposition was going to allow some kid, because politically that's basically what Guaido is. He's a kid. They were never going to allow some kid to walk in and decide, you know what, I'm the president now. Nor were they going to allow America to determine, unilaterally, who was supposed to take over after the failed military coup that was shot in full screen portrait mode. Never forget that Juan Guaido tried to initiate a military coup by live streaming on YouTube in full screen portrait mode. That was the moment we knew that he was never really going to be president, because no president in the history of the world has ever initiated a military coup live streaming on YouTube in full screen portrait mode. I really can't overstate that enough. Okay, so I'm gonna be clear about that. But we were a little suspect. We said this for a while. Well, it turned out that claim was pretty on point, as we've learned from the recently leaked audio from Mike Pompeo. So we're going to take a listen.
Pompeo has been caught making some comments about Venezuela that were not intended for the primetime viewers. Apparently, he's not sure who would replace Maduro if his regime change efforts are successful.
This has been our conundrum, which is to keep the opposition united has proven devilishly difficult. The moment Maduro leaves, everybody's going to raise their hand that says, take me, I'm the next president of Venezuela. There'll be 40 plus people who believe they're the rightful heir to Maduro.
Hold on. What happened? I thought that they said Maduro was never the rightful president. That Guaido or Guaido didn't even run, so that Maduro didn't actually win his election. They say that he was disallowing people to run, which didn't really make sense because nobody actually claimed that, other than Guaido. They were saying that Venezuela was united. The opposition was united behind Guaido. The United States was once again carrying on as if the Venezuelan opposition to Maduro was basically at our beck and call and would do whatever we tell them to, which is why they assume that knighting or crowning Guaido would be okay. Guys, I don't know what to tell y'all, but a lot of y'all got played. I mean, people who watch this channel, probably not, but I know a lot of people have. Well, both things can be true. Maduro can be a horrible leader in Guaido, and when the United States should... No. If the United States is lying to you about one instance in order to initiate a regime change conflict, it is highly likely that they are lying to you about a lot of other things. Like I said, I'm not really in the game of determining whether or not a leader is altruistic in their motives or not, because that's just a whole, rabbit hole I don't want to go down. But I can tell you this: Maduro is no better or worse. And he's probably better, honestly, because he doesn't invade other countries than any of the other leaders in the Western world. I can say that confidently. Once again, when Maduro starts invading other countries for their oil, when he starts dropping nuclear weapons or constantly threatening nuclear war, when he starts demonizing other countries just for the sake of demonizing them, then maybe I'll start to think he might be somewhat worse than even our leaders here in the United States. But the moment that the mainstream media in totality agree that someone is just the most horrible person in the world, remember they did the same thing to Julian Assange. Half of the lies surrounding Julian Assange are just that, they're lies. Half of the lies surrounding the Venezuelan conflict are just that, they're lies. Some of them are half-truths. But either way, the United States has basically been caught red-handed. They have no idea what the hell they are doing in Venezuela. They're making an attempt to tear the country apart so that it can be destabilized, because that's how we take people's oil. It is really that simple. And Pasta had some great commentary here, and I'll place a link in the description below, but I do want to play a little bit of what Pasta had to say about this, because from a humanistic level, there are some things that need to be done. Given that this has been brought to light, I'm sure that more things will be brought to light in the coming weeks and in the coming months. But this was damning, because they made it seem as if that they had control over the situation, saying, "Oh well, 40 people are going to line up." What do you mean 40 people are going to line up to say they're the rightful heir to Maduro? I thought that y'all were going to be holding fair elections, but it seems like y'all were never planning on doing that either. And so it's all been a masquerade. But let's see what Pasta had to say about this.
All right, fam. So that really is a big thing. I think that signifies almost the end, hopefully, of this conflict, because there is no opposition. The regime change failed. And I'm also looking for this guy to get fired. I just want to throw that in there. It's time to fire this asshole right here, Lord Bolton. Pompeo needs to go. Abrams needs to go. And the funny thing about it is, fam, it was not in the mainstream media. Only RT and TYT covered it. So, I mean, just to start off.
So you're saying that there is no... Because I still feel like they're talking about the coup as it's this thing that's still happening, that it's still going to happen. So you're saying that there is no coup anymore. It's done. It's failed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, it's going to be major unpopular to the United States people, even for the people on the right who do support Donald Trump blindly. There is no opposition. So there is no coup itself to take over the country itself. And that means it's going to go batshit crazy. If he says there's 40 people raising their hands, they don't have an opposition. The best thing they can do is pull the hell out. And I think that you're going to continue to see Abrams, Bolton, Pompeo. They're going to try to gaslight Donald Trump and say, no, we can still do this. We can still get him out. We can still get a hold of that oil. I don't see it now whatsoever. But the most important thing, what we have to do is, as progressives right now, is we have to start a full blitzkrieg to lift the sanctions now. I put that up there, hashtag lift the sanctions now, because we have to understand one thing, fam. Who do the sanctions hurt?
Well, they hurt the Venezuelan people.
The poor people. Mm-hmm. They don't hurt the upper class.
Oh, no.
They don't hurt the middle class. They hurt the poor people. When Bill Clinton put sanctions on Iraq, I think they said 1 million children died because he restricted them getting medical care and put all these sanctions on them. And it hurts the most vulnerable people. But we've also placed, remember, here's where we placed sanctions. Number one, in their banking abilities. They can't use their banking anywhere. I got some articles up here too as well. They can't use their bankings anywhere. Remember when we did on this show right here, we were talking about sanctions. We talked about how Maduro wanted to get malaria medicine for an outbreak in the Amazon, but he couldn't get it from Colombia because the sanctions restricted so. he wanted to get insulin from Canada, but the sanctions didn't allow him to even just hit a button, fam, and transfer that money over there. So those really hurt the poor. Then we did the gold sanctions. We seized their gold. Right now, Deutsche Bank has over, I think it's 20 tons of gold seized. Maduro, Venezuelan people, the people of Venezuela's gold is seized. And then we hit them hard, fam, on their greatest resource on oil. So those three things, we have to lift the sanctions now. Because if we don't do it, fam, and I want you to kind of talk a little bit about this too, if we do not lift the sanctions, these people are going to show up on our doorstep, are they not?
I mean, look, Pasta really couldn't have put it better himself. I couldn't put it any better than Pasta did. If we don't lift the sanctions, these people are going to end up on our doorstep. One, they're already here. But two, these people are going to suffer. Like Pasta described, children are going to die. Children will get sick. The elite are never hurt by sanctions. The government is very rarely, I can't think of an example of when, so I can't say that the government isn't hurt by, because what ends up happening is, in situations like Venezuela, the wealthy elite, and to be quite frank, the melanin challenge, that's what we'll call it. We'll call the, people, there's some people who get sensitive when you state a verifiable fact, so we won't call the people white. We'll call the Venezuelans melanin challenged. And they become convinced that it is the fault of the person who is in charge that the sanctions are hurting their businesses, their bank accounts, they believe that. They end up believing the nonsense. And so then, of course, those people help to basically carry this idea in an international media when they're in, because like I said, there are a lot of Venezuelans who live here. Some of them just don't care at all. They just think that everybody's corrupt, and they probably have a right to feel that way. Others, they really believe that Maduro's their enemy. They don't blame the United States for anything. And so in that regard, sanctions can hurt a government. But outside of that, the people who are in government, they're going to be fine regardless. The people who are elites are going to be fine regardless. The sanctions are there to hurt the people. This is textbook. They believe if they hurt the people will become disenchanted with their government. And once people are pissed off enough, they will overthrow their government. But I think that the Venezuelan people have thrown a wrench in the United States government's plans, because they're going to defend Maduro, because they understand that it's not about Maduro. It's about fighting against the U.S. empire. And I really, truly wish that our people would behave the same. That understanding that when you're voting for somebody like Warren, who is, by the way, pro Guaido, by the way, pro coup, when you're advocating for somebody like her, you're not advocating because you think she's best for the country. You're advocating for her because you find her as a suitable president of yourself. If she's president, at least my life can go back to normal. It isn't about the bigger picture. It isn't about who would be negatively affected by her presidency. Same thing when it comes to a Kamala or even a Biden. But if you are for Biden, you're just sick in the head. I don't know what to tell you. But in all seriousness, you have to think of the bigger picture. The Venezuelan people may feel one way or the other about Maduro, but it's not Maduro they're defending. It is their sovereignty that they're defending. It is their autonomy that they're defending. It is their self-determination that they are defending, and Maduro just happens to be in power while they're defending it. And like I said, not only in Venezuela but in France as well, the people of the United States could learn so much. We've been so spoiled in some regards, to the degree that we think that Elizabeth Warren is an acceptable alternative because she said some nice things. Would the people of Venezuela settle for Elizabeth Warren? Would the people of France settle for Elizabeth Warren? We've already seen all over the world populist candidates are rising. They're rising for a reason, because we don't have time for more Western imperialism. We don't have more time for big money to basically govern above, over all of us. We have to take control of our government. We can't allow sanctions to be placed on Venezuela any longer. I agree with Pasta. And we should be speaking up about this. So with that being said, people, thank you all so much for tuning into that live stream segment of Mi Casa es Su Casa. And remember, more than anything else, people, find your balance. Peace.